There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Woo! Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I do this every day, all day long. And just when you think that you've got it all down, something happens and voila, here we are. I'm going to do a quick restart because I don't want you to miss a thing. I'm Dr. Helen Holton, founder of Dr. Helen Holton and Associates and host of Dr. Helen Speaks, Strengths, Resilience, and Leadership. As a strengths, resilience, and leadership coach, I help women just like you leverage your strengths, manage weaknesses, and build your resilience to do and be a better you. As a result, you'll increase your performance, productivity, and prosperity potential. Isn't that why we really want to step into here to learn, grow, and be more of who we are? The key ingredient is engagement. We help you develop your unique path to more of what you really want for your life. And I'll be here every Tuesday, 10 a.m. Pacific time and 1 p.m. Eastern time. And each week, I'm going to pour into you out of the experiences, earned expertise, and wisdom that I've gained over the years. It's one of the ways I think of paying back the blessings of my life forward. You remember that movie, Pay It Forward? I love that movie. And I think of each of us that's been blessed with doing something that gives us more joy and fulfillment in life. We have a responsibility to share that, to give it to others and make it happen. And so that's what I'm here to do. You'll hear from me. You'll hear from guests that I'll interview on the show from time to time, dynamic women and some men, we don't want to leave them out, who impact and influence the lives of others, especially leaders. And what I know is that there is a leader in each and every one of you. I'm ready to go. And if you're ready, great, let's do it. Before we jump right into it, I need to give a little thank yous. And I want to begin with a big thank you to Paula Fellingham, the founder and visionary leader of Win Win Women TV, with a goal to connect almost more than 4 billion women for education, motivation, and inspiration that we might all come into recognizing our true talents and best ways of being to make this planet a better place. What I know is that relationships matter. And I want to take a moment to thank Norma Hollis for the opportunity and the invitation to join the Communication and Connection channel. Because without that invitation, without that connection, without that relationship, I wouldn't be here today. It's just that simple. The Communication and Connection channel is about self. How do we understand ourselves, come into being, do what we do? It's about others, that once we have an understanding of ourselves, we're able to convey that to others. And the more people we convey that message to impacts the universe. Our goal is to help us all think, communicate, and do. So, what will we think about today? Today, we're going to talk about strengths. How do you know yourself? How do you know your strengths, weaknesses, leadership style? Why? Purpose, passion. How do you know all of that? What does it mean when you hear the word strengths? Now, for those of you who know me, and for those of you who don't, but you'll get to know me over time, I'm a person that likes to really delve down into words. And though we have dictionaries, and by the way, every dictionary does not give the same definition for a word you may be searching for. So as you come to know me and how I show up and operate, one thing you'll learn about me is that I love to study and formulate definitions of common everyday words that have deeper meaning for the work I do, who I am, and how I show up for you. So here's my definition of strengths. Strengths are how we most naturally think, feel, and behave. Ways of being that we don't always take time to understand, how we're wired by nature and by nurture to some extent. It's about the capacity for endurance. Strengths are a state of being strong. So what I'd like for you to do right now is, I'd like for you to write down, if you're able to do so. So if you're watching remotely in a car or sitting in a meeting where you probably should be paying attention to the meeting and you're not, that's okay. That means you're really going to get a nugget that's going to help you move your game forward. Number one, when does the best of you show up? Can you identify when that is and point to examples of your life when you just know you were in your zone? Number two, are you aware of when your best is showing up? Different from when does it show up? Are you aware of when it's showing up? Sometimes you don't get it until someone gives you feedback afterwards. Sometimes we never get it. But there are ways to learn how to do that, be in touch with it, and have it be really powerful for you. How do you make, number three, how do you make your good better and your better your best? How do you make your good better and your better your best? Now, I know we've heard that, out in the world. And if you haven't, it's not my original thought, but it does make a lot of sense here. This is what I know. We often see ourselves to be better at doing something than we actually are. And that's okay. Because you see, having an awareness consciously is a good thing. It's an opportunity. It brings awareness to your attention. What do I mean by that? What can you do with a conscious awareness of doing it? I'm going to tell you, you can do anything you want. So here's an example. I remember when I first started playing tennis, it was because, I don't know, it was before Serena and Venus Williams, but I was watching Arthur Ashe, and I thought, oh, that looks so cool. Look at that racket. I could probably do that. I remember playing tennis in high school. It wasn't that bad. I think I'm going to get out there and just start playing some tennis. Oh my goodness. Can I just tell you, I then had those flashback memories of high school learning how to play tennis, and it just wasn't that easy. You think just taking that racket with that big head on it to hit that little ball and to get it to go over the net would really be quite simple, but it's not. And when I had to shift, as I was becoming a halfway decent tennis player, I had to shift. My doctor told me I had to stop playing tennis because I have artificial hips. And I never forget saying to him, well, what am I supposed to do for exercise? And he said, take up golf. And I thought to myself, yeah, right. I'm going to hit a smaller ball with a stick on the ground that has a very small head to it. Right. And it's true. I didn't just jump out there playing golf. I learned from tennis. I took some lessons, got pretty good at the driving range. Oh my goodness. But when I got to the course, once again, perception was greater than reality. And I needed to go back and take a different set of lessons to be what I call a so-so golfer. But I do play and I love it. But this awareness brings attention to perception versus reality. Now, my perceived outcome, which I believe to be true, was less than I expected. And as my mama might say, oh, daughter, you are just having delusions of grandeur. Yes, we all have moments when we have delusions of grandeur, but not to worry. This is where learning about your strengths makes a difference. I remember learning about my strength and how it's impacted my life ever since then. In 2015, as part of a team building exercise for a national board of directors I served on, one for women, by the way, the National Foundation for Women Legislators, is where I was first introduced to the Gallup Clifton Strengths Assessment. I'd never heard of it before, surprisingly, because I just love taking assessments. I'm always in awe about the results that come back after you take the assessment, especially those where you have no clue as to what it's leading to and how it's going to weave together the different pieces of who you are. But they've become an invaluable tool for me and others that I've worked with around different assessment tools. Well, I'm going to tell you, in 2015, getting the results back from, then it was called Strengths Finder. Some of you may be familiar with that name. It formally changed in 2008 to honor its founder, Don Clifton. But for the first time in my life, I read assessment results that revealed truths about me that I'd never spoken to another human being. That's right. I read on a piece of paper things about myself, which I always believed to be true, that all of a sudden they were. And I thought, oh, wow. I'd never said these things out loud to anyone. It was a game changer for me. And as a team, as we went through a group debrief to better understand the tool and some training to better understand how to use it, it continues to get better and better and better at helping me develop my strengths and become stronger, more powerful, and a bolder leader in the process. So a few things I want to talk to you about. According to Gallup's research, when people know who they are through their most dominant talent themes and invest in them regularly, they are 3 times more likely to report having an excellent quality of life, 6 times more likely to be engaged at work, and 8% more productive, and 15% less likely to quit their jobs. Let that sink in for a minute. When you know the best of who you are through your strengths and you invest in that, you are 3 times more likely to report having an excellent quality of life, 6 times more likely to be engaged at work, 8% more productive, and 15% less likely to quit your job. Consider what that means when you think about what we're going through today. Now, everyone's hearing the buzz about the Great Resignation, and it is very real. The Great Resignation has demonstrated that we're living in an increased time of burnout with decreased retention of top talent in the workforce. So for those of you who get up and go to a job every day, or maybe you're the boss, think about burnout and keeping good talent in place. On top of that, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, they're currently reporting record high quit rates and unfulfilled positions since they began tracking this data more than 20 years ago. Who here today has gone to an establishment, a retail establishment or a hospitality establishment, and found that maybe it closed early, or the lines are extra long, or people just aren't available to assist you? Yeah, it's the Great Resignation. It's people just walking away from jobs. This pandemic has had impact and effects on us that we're just beginning to think about what it means. So take the Great Resignation and what's happening with positions and think about, what if I were doing what I naturally do best? What would that mean to my livelihood and what I'm doing? Well, Gallup reports that 48% of America's working population is actively job searching or looking for new opportunities. I hear it all the time. You know, there's no organization that gets a pass from the Great Resignation. But what does that mean to leaders? This is a problem, yes, and it's an opportunity. You either see the glass half full or half empty. Take a minute if you're taking any kind of notes right now and just write down which one of those holds true for you. Do you see life with the glass half full or the glass half empty? Now, there's not a right or wrong. It comes back to a level of awareness about how you think, feel, and behave. It comes back to having a positive outlook or a pessimistic outlook. And it's not for me to say, it's really for you to think about yourself. Because until you get it, no one else in the world gets it. So if you haven't guessed already, I live my life with a glass half full, sometimes to the overflow, but I digress. So let's talk about where these thoughts have come from and how they are shaping our reality about how and what we do. The study of positive psychology is often credited to Martin Seligman as the founder of positive psychology and one of its leading authorities. He's the director of the Positive Psychology Center at the University of Pennsylvania. And in his groundbreaking work with a colleague, they began this research in the fact that too much psychology research funding was focused on studying people's problems rather than people's potential. Think about that. Let's focus on people's problems, or let's focus on people's potential. Yeah, you get it. We need to flip the script a little in order to raise leaders. And I go back to the point that there's a leader within each and every one of us in some capacity. Maybe now is a time to explore it more, to step into it, and decide for yourself how to shift the trajectory of your life. So we talk a little bit about positive psychology. Let's talk about strengths psychology. Now, Don Clifton, the inventor of StrengthsFinder assessment, now known as the Clifton Strengths Assessment. So if you hear someone say StrengthsFinder, please correct them and say, oh, you mean the Clifton Strengths Assessment? Well, that was a big move that Gallup made in 2018 to honor the inventor of this tool, of which to date, more than 25 million people on the planet have taken the Gallup Clifton Strengths Assessment. And it's only been around since the early 80s. 25 million, that's a pretty good catch. So what will happen when we think about what is right with people rather than fixating on what is wrong with them? And this was the one question Don Clifton posed to himself as he went down that path to say there's got to be a better way, one that's focused on what we do right. And what we do right begins with how we naturally think, feel, and behave. So his work was based on three major premises. Number one, strengths can be identified. Yeah, they can, and Gallup has shown that. Number two, The greatest individual growth comes from expanding your strengths. What does that mean? It means that you spend some time with them. Here's an example. Let's think about strengths. If you go to the gym because you want to get more fit and stronger, does it happen just by thinking about it? No, you have to do something about it. And when you begin to do something about it, you can't just do it once. You've got to make it a regular part of who you are and how you're showing up in the world. And number 3, people can build strengths-based organizations for greater success. Now, Don Clifton said, people. I say leaders can build strengths-based organizations for greater success. And whether you're an organization of less than 5, yes, you can still build a strengths-based organization. Or if you're the CEO of a multinational conglomerate, you can still build strengths-based organizations. And what does it mean when you do that? It means you're stepping into moving people exponentially forward to do those things that I talked about before, which is what happens when people invest in the best of who they are. They report 3 times more likely of having an excellent quality of life. Yeah, and I'm doing that. Can I just tell you, I'm living my best life ever. And I'm here because I want to help you do the same thing. Yeah. People who know who they are through the best of who they are 6 times more likely to be engaged at work. Yeah. Think about your coworkers that kind of check out midday or maybe from the moment they walk in the door. To be 8% more productive and 15% less likely to quit their jobs. Now, these days, it's a really big deal. I'll give you an example. I love Starbucks. Why? I'm lactose intolerant. Starbucks was the first coffee chain out there that used non-dairy milk. Oh my goodness, it meant I didn't have to give up my latte forever. And what they've done to just increase the choices of non-dairy milk, I'd say they've been doing a little research in how do we reach the masses? How do we have a product that we can serve everybody in their uniqueness, in the things that mean most to them? Now, that doesn't mean they get everything right. If they got everything right, I guess they wouldn't be here anymore because they would have, maxed out on getting everything right. Life is about learning, growing, and becoming more of who we were truly meant to be. And so when you come and hang out with Dr. Helen Speaks and strengths, resilience, and leadership, we get to deepen our knowledge about what that means and what it looks like. And how do we really grab that brass ring to have more of what we really want in our life? It begins with an action on your part. It begins with finding out, who am I? What are my strengths? How do I naturally think, feel, and behave? And I want to give you something to be mindful for. We all have inner critics. We all have outward naysayers to things that we think we're perfectly aligned for and that we want to do. And we also live with a little self-doubt. And it takes a conscious effort on your behalf to want to get those under control. Doesn't mean you'll ever make them go away, but to find ways to minimize them from distracting what you want for your life. Those 3 things, your inner critic, your naysayers, and your self-doubt, can distract your destiny by seeking to destroy what is within you. I'm a believer that God, the universe, equips us with who we're to be before we ever enter this place, to help us understand our purpose for being here and making a difference, because we all have something to contribute to make a difference. So I want you to jot down this last thought to think about. Do you have the opportunity to do what you do best every day? I'm going to repeat that. Do you have the opportunity to do what you do best every day? I didn't always believe that I did or could, or how would I even begin to identify that? And in 2015, I stumbled upon something, being an active and participative board member, that has certainly given me the opportunity to do what I do best every day. And the beauty and joy of that makes life sweeter, better, and I wake up with joy in the morning. I can end each day, even the worst of days, knowing at some point in that day, I had the opportunity to do what I do best through my strengths, and you can too. So be sure and tune in to Dr. Helen Speaks, Strengths, Resilience, and Leadership. I'll be here waiting for you. Are you ready? Let's do it.